When we talk about High School Musical and the idea of breaking the status quo and understanding our parts in keeping up the status quo, I would say Sharpay did not learn her lesson. So I honestly think it could have been interesting to use Sharpay's fabulous adventures to really tell that story. I think they attempted to in a way, but my argument against this is that it didn't really seem like Sharpay learned her lesson because she didn't lose enough. A quick recap is Sharpay went to the city thinking that the casting director was looking for her. They were actually looking at her dog, Boy. So she tries to get Boy a part on Broadway and simultaneously takes down the lead girl because she was just a mean person who basically was the Sharpay Evans of this movie. At the end of the movie, Sharpay ends up being the only one who knew the parts of the lead, so she was able to take over, and Sharpay finally got her first Broadway show. Now, something to know about this movie, I say that she did not lose enough because at the end of the day, Sharpay does kind of learn we're all in this together because she does kind of have for what you would call maybe a nemesis, right? A competing dog and dog owner for the same part that she was looking for her dog, Boy. However, they do learn we're all in this together, but the stakes were not low for her to really realize just how serious of a problem that Sharpay was. It's not that we don't learn this little lesson of we're all in this together in the way that the other dog owner, who was Gabe Duncan, I forget his name in the movie exactly, but they were basically competing. They were kind of sabotaging each other because they obviously wanted each other's parts. But at the end of the day, when they realized the woman was so mean and they said, we want to expose her, they kind of worked together to kind of make that happen. And obviously Sharpay took the big fall and left. Austin Butler played a video for the team of Sharpay singing one of the songs from the show. They say, you know what? No one else knows the part. Sharpay, you are going to be on the Broadway musical because you're the only one who knows the part. Sharpay got her first Broadway musical. I would argue because of the ways that the actress herself did not sabotage anyone. Like, yes, she was mean. Yes, she clearly fired an old assistant that really did nothing wrong. At the end of the day, we did not see this person who was supposed to be, like, essentially the Sharpay Evans of this movie, reflecting to Sharpay the way kind of she acted in High School Musical movies, do as many things to sabotage the people exactly. And I think it just wasn't a strong enough storyline. I would argue because this is just a little bit past the era of cowbells, material girls, kind of movies about rich girls who kind of get to know why poor people and people in general struggle because of the reasons of money, because of the status quo, just saying it is what it is, this is your place, that's not my responsibility. Like, those movies particularly like live in my mind in reference to Sharpay because Sharpay is kind of a similar character to those girls, and I think we really needed to see a stripped down version of Sharpay working side by side either by someone who's like maybe helping low income kids do theater, kind of realizing that she kind of had it made and she prohibited people from being able to express themselves and take a chance at liking something new in the theater like she did to Troy. If she was like put in a situation where she kind of realized both in her richness, right, monetarily, but also just in realizing how much these kind of systems prevent people from doing things. A storyline where she had to witness this, I think, would have been much more powerful, or even her dad had threatened her going back to Lava Springs if she couldn't like make it big on Broadway, right? I think it would have been interesting if Sharpay could still make a name for herself at the end of the movie, but maybe she had to struggle a little bit and kind of like learn something about what it means to not have as much privilege, right? It would be interesting if, especially because of High School Musical 2 in particular, where we kind of saw this like very privileged storyline play out, if she had to be part of the working class and see the the people that her family pay right at the end of the day to work at their club, to kind of, hey, maybe she helps them form a union. Sharpay Evans helps workers at Lava Springs form a union. That would have been interesting. Like, there are so many other ways that this could have been done in a more interesting way. It feels like this was very just like thrown together to try to like get the last bit of High School Musical high, because remember, High School Musical ended in, I believe, 2009, and this was 2011. So like we were really pushing it. Like, obviously, like, hey, I was still there. I was 2011, I was 16. So, I mean, personally, I still cared, but it just was not as interesting because not only of the time that we had away from High School Musical itself, but also because the storyline fell flat in what the purpose of High School Musical was versus just giving Sharpay her own show. I want to say Sharpay is such a complex character, and that is what makes her interesting. And obviously, people who know everything and never make a mistake and never do anything wrong, like, that's not what we write TV shows about, right? Or movies about. I think it would have been really interesting if Sharpay, because if you were aging out with High School Musical, like I said, I was 16 by the time this movie came out. If it was like an ABC Family show, right, where we saw maybe Sharpay struggle in the city and actually have to struggle, like maybe her dad cut her off or something, like I don't know, it would have been interesting to see that, where she actually like would have to work and like be an actual like person who is an actor trying to work and making minimal money on Broadway. That would have been so interesting because in the movie, like, she kind of made the mistake. She was able to book a penthouse and she fucked up. She didn't get a pet friendly one and she ended up having to move into a shitty like studio apartment that Austin Butler's character helped her transform. But she really only cosplayed, right? She wasn't actually really living poor. So those are just a few ideas of what could have made a Sharpay's Fabulous Adventures more interesting, if they actually cared about really being true to kind of the lessons we were learning in High School Musical and not so much just a random spin-off for Sharpay.